Welcome to Past Week in Politics. I'm Joe Matz. President Trump announced his Supreme Court nominee, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, in July. Kavanaugh has been a D.C. Circuit judge for the past 12 years. Before that, he was a White House staff secretary for President George W. Bush. He was part of the drafting of the Starr Report, which urged the impeachment of President Bill Clinton. For the past few days, Kavanaugh has faced the Senate in his confirmation hearings. The nomination is controversial beyond the normal party disagreements. With the midterms approaching, both parties are fighting for votes, and this hearing will be fresh in voters' minds. Beyond that, Trump's recent implication in the Cohen case has led to questions from Democrats about rules regarding legal action against the sitting president. Kavanaugh refused to comment on what he called potential hypotheticals. When asked what kind of judge he will be, Kavanaugh stresses his desire to be independent and to uphold the Constitution. The hearing has been plagued by protesters, with 70 arrests on the first day alone. The protests have been organized by a coalition of groups like the Women's March and the Center for Popular Democracy Action. The hearings have been actively disrupted by the protesters trying to voice their concerns about issues like reproductive and LGBTQ rights. Democrats don't have the majority in Congress, and it is very likely that Kavanaugh will get the 51 votes that he needs to become a Supreme Court justice. Bob Woodward, a reporter from the Washington Post, who was part of the duo that broke the Watergate scandal, released his new book, Fear, to some media outlets this week. Excerpts of the book on the Trump administration have gained national attention as well as copious amounts of coverage. The book focuses on the existence of a resistance to Trump from inside the White House. The next day, the New York Times published an anonymous op-ed written by a senior official at the Trump administration. The op-ed detailed the resistance further, describing an attempt to frustrate Trump's worst inclinations to do what they can to preserve our democratic institutions. President Trump has responded to the book by calling it fake, saying it was totally made up and the exact opposite of fact. In response to the op-ed, he is trying to find out who in his administration wrote the editorial. He demands that the New York Times turn over the author to the government for national security purposes. This has been your Past Week in Politics. Make sure to follow us on social media, and I'll see you next week.